What everyone is doing in this room is amazing, and I feel like everybody should have a spot up here talking about what they're doing, because I think we could all learn an awful lot. As Jamal mentioned, I'm the founder of 2 startups. I launched the first TV show on Snapchat in 2015. So I feel like I've had this kind of wave of technology kind of immersed world, and having a mom who is a psychotherapist has meant for the past few years I've really been fascinated looking at the relationship we're developing with technology. And so today my talk is about the impact it is having on our mental well-being and ways we can manage it to live more mindfully. So hands up, who remembers what life was like without a mobile phone? Yeah, it was very, very different. And I remember getting my first phone, and I thought it was the best day ever. It was shiny, it was white, I could message people, and then when I got the iPhone, I could then iMessage people for free without topping up credit. And I was like, oh my God, I'm obsessed. And the sad thing was, I became obsessed, and so did the rest of the world. And where has that left us? So here at the Henley Business School, they carried out a study and found that millennials will check their work phone 8,568 times outside office hours. That's 23 times every day, including Christmas. So who thinks that's a good thing? Yeah, none of us. But yet we all still do it. So 10 years ago, when we were all given the most addictive toy that has possibly ever been made, a device that constantly beeps, it's unpredictable, it has the power to change our emotion at any minute. You might receive a text from someone you fancy, and you're really excited, you've got this dopamine, serotonin, all these brain chemicals that make you feel really excited. Or you may see an email in the middle of dinner telling you you've missed a deadline, and suddenly you're filled with fear, cortisol levels have risen, which is the stress hormone, and as a consequence, your dinner is ruined because you're worrying. So Steve Jobs, the father of these, didn't let his children play with them. Now, isn't that interesting? The guy that actually knew the power of them wouldn't let his children use the technology. He just left the rest of the world, us, to find out how detrimental they could be. So being connected to these things 24/7 means we are on a constant emotional roller coaster, reacting to the daily stream of activity as it comes in. Today, I'm going to focus on 2 main detrimental consequences the tech-obsessed revolution has had. First is that smartphones have made it easier for us to compare ourselves to others constantly. And secondly, the rise of tech has meant the work-life balance has disappeared, leaving many of us feeling burnt out. So my first point, comparing ourselves to others. It can be helpful, hence why it's a very normal thing that humans naturally do. It can spark motivation, direction, it actually helps shape our own sense of identity and measurement. But now that Instagram exists, or Facebook or Twitter, our natural tendency to do this has gone into overdrive. At every minute of every single day, we have a feed showcasing the wonderful lives of others. And you may have suddenly reached a milestone and you're super pleased about it, and then suddenly you go online and your friend got a better promotion, and suddenly your milestone doesn't mean anything anymore, and all that happiness you've been really working towards means nothing. Isn't that sad? I mean, who's left Instagram or Facebook feeling a little bit inadequate or feeling a little bit depressed and kind of wish they never gone on in the first place? A great quote I like reminding myself is, be the racehorse with blinkers on. Focusing on the person next to you's race is only going to distract your own journey and take away enjoyment. Be the horse that concentrates on their own race, and it's easier said than done. So now on to my second point. The rise of tech has taken away the work-life balance, and it's making us feel overwhelmed. Now, I'm a huge victim to this. Often I find myself emailing from my bed, trying to squeeze an extra few minutes in before I crash to sleep. 10 years ago, there was a separation between work time and free time. You were forced to take a break because you probably wouldn't have had access to your email or an internet connection. But technology has made it so easy for us never to switch off. Systems are faster, more opportunities lie in front of us, making us feel overwhelmed and possibly experiencing burnout. So at times I feel technology has almost made us become hamsters on wheels, and we just keep going round and round and round, and we're not actually being productive, but we think we are. Only a few months ago, I actually experienced adrenal fatigue. The irony, I'm working on a mental health app, is hilarious. It's not lost on me. But my stomach exploded because the cortisol levels in my body were sky high. I had investors to please. I'm working on an app that just has a problem every second minute. And the pressure I was putting on myself was just far too much. I was working on 2 different time zones. At midnight, suddenly the UK wakes up, so I'm working midnight to 3 in the morning, and then suddenly when I wake up at 6 a.m., the UK's been alive for kind of 6 hours. So I've got to catch up on all these emails. And I wasn't taking any time for myself. So this is our best friend, but it's also our worst enemy. And is it productive in business? Is it productive in entrepreneurship? Because being creative actually sometimes is away from these things. So when I was bedbound, unable to eat, feeling really downbeat, and I began to think even harder, how do we live in this digital-fueled world, wanting to succeed, but also still maintaining a balanced mental well-being? After studying the science, I shortened my findings into 5 key takeaways, and it massively helps having a mum who's a psychotherapist. I'm going to say that. So regardless of how busy, tired and overwhelmed you may be, self-care practices have to be routinely managed. You have a responsibility more than ever to look after your mind just as much as everything else. We've had a physical health revolution. We all understand looking after your body is a must. Gym memberships have gone through the roof in the last 10 years. And now we are in a generation where our mental health is now first and foremost. But how do you look after your mind? Most people don't even know what anxiety is. You ask someone down the street what's anxiety, and they're like, it's just some weird feeling. When actually it's your body thinking you're in danger. You're the gazelle running away from the lion. And at the moment, these are often the lion in our life. They are the source of danger that's causing us to feel uptight, anxious, heart beating fast, and cortisol being pumped around our bodies. So my 5 key takeaways are 1, taking time to relax, 2, processing, 3, moving and snoozing, 4, thinking and thanking, and 5, being mindful of nutrition. So let's go to number 1, taking time to relax. What is the easiest way to take your body out of the fight and flight stress mode? Breathing. Sounds so simple. We all do it. Yet we never actually take a proper deep belly breath. 1 real belly breath is the equivalent to 6 normal breaths. And what breathing does is it activates your vagal nerve. So you being stressed is like a car going down a motorway at 100 miles an hour. And the breath is like the brake. It's slowing you down and it's bringing you back into the rest and relax system. So if a gazelle is running away from a lion, if the gazelle stops and starts breathing, it would be eaten. So you're using your body to tell your brain you're not in danger, and it takes you way out of stress. So I think we should all do it now. And it's a really interesting thing, because I actually became a breathing instructor a month ago, and I thought this was fascinating. So most of us breathe wrongly, and you ask someone to breathe, and they go, and it doesn't help you. And so breathing is all from the stomach. So if you sing, and actually if you smoke, sometimes you can actually learn to breathe better. So when you're feeling stressed, I know, one good reason for smoking, I actually don't smoke, but yeah, I don't smoke. Anyway. So it's taking a deep breath into your stomach and pushing your stomach out to make yourself look pregnant. So it's going and exhaling and bringing your stomach back to your backbone. Anyway, so that's a really key tactic whenever you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed or stressed and you've received an email and you're like, shit, I haven't done that yet, which happens most hours in my life. Next, the art of processing. So how many times have you bottled up an emotion or a feeling and you don't want to say anything, and especially at work, you're getting really annoyed with your boss and you can't really tell anyone because you're just fucked off. By not writing it down or by not talking about how you're feeling, you're actually activating your emotional center. So your amygdala, which is your emotional center of your brain, is going overdrive. So it's really important to process your thoughts and emotions. So the next time, because that activates your prefrontal cortex, which is your rational side of your brain. So the next time you feel something, just jot it down, because you're moving it to a different part of your brain where you're able to process it. And as a consequence, it's going to make you more productive. It's going to make you more relaxed. And it means you're less able to be triggered. 3, moving and snoozing. So exercise, we all know, is really important, but less so for your physical body, but for your mental health. It releases a chemical called dopamine, making you feel really good, and it reduces stress and anxiety. You're more likely to be 75% happier if you move. But when we're chained to our desk and we're chained to our mobile phone, and actually technology makes it so easy for us not to move. You can deliver food these days. Like in LA, it's ridiculous. There's this thing, I don't think it's in the UK, but there's a thing called Postmates, and you can Postmates anything. So it means that no one moves. And it's really important to walk. Steps can like totally change your perspective. Moving and then and snoozing. Sleeping is the most powerful medicine we have. Yet again, if you're an entrepreneur, and I have 2 businesses, I feel such a responsibility to respond to emails the entire time. It will be like last night, 2 a.m, and I'm saying this to all of you, and I need to practice what I preach, because I'm there at 2 a.m, like, emailing LA, and the white lights from the screens just activates my brain. So suddenly I go, it's 2:30. I need to go to bed because I'm getting up at 6. I'm coming to Henley. How can I go to sleep? My brain isn't ready for sleep. It's activated. And so it at least takes me a good hour to finally calm it down to then move into to a sleep mode. And if you do fall straight to sleep because you're so exhausted, you'll wake up 3 hours later because your brain won't be able to get into the deeper side of sleep, the REM sleep, because again, it's so activated. So that's why when you're very stressed, usually you'll go to sleep and you'll wake up again, and then you'll want to go to sleep again. And sleep is super important, again, to refresh your brain. It repairs cells, and again makes you more productive. So those a couple of hours before bed, you think you're getting some extra work in. Really, you're just inhibiting the next day ahead. 4, thinking and thanking. Now, I find this absolutely fascinating because there's been loads of science behind writing gratitude lists. Every single day, if you write why you could be thankful for life, it actually increases endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, and it's looking at your life with a glass half full rather than empty. And I honestly think the most successful people I've met, one of their key skills is perspective. Choosing a good perspective, because everyone is going to experience failures. Failures are what make you, but it's your choice of whether you see the failure as something that you're going to walk away from, or a failure that you're going to build from and make the next thing you do even better. There was an author, John Kralik, describes how he went from an all-time low to a happy and flourishing life through the simple act of writing thank you notes. He considered whether he would find life more manageable if he focused on what he did have rather than what he didn't. And so he began writing 365 thank you notes, 1 per day. And he noticed profound changes in his life. People who regularly think about what they're thankful for experience more positive emotions, feel more alive, sleep better, express more compassion and kindness, and even have a stronger immune system. But remember, gratitude doesn't need to be reserved for only momentous occasions. Something as simple as being grateful for a cup of tea. It makes a difference. So have a think. What are you grateful for? And so practicing gratitude in the workplace is very powerful too. It helps colleagues feel appreciated, heard, and the results that have shown means there's less employee turnover, better decision making, and people reported to find more meaning at work. So how can you incorporate more gratitude in your workplace? So lastly, nutrition. The gut is the second brain. And studies have shown that your gut bacteria directly influence your mood. So if you haven't eaten nutritious food, how can you expect to manage the consistent demands technology fire at us? Your brain isn't being fueled effectively. And again, when you're so consumed by these, it's easy not to eat. It's easy just to go, I'm just going to run and grab the closest thing. And actually, again, you're inhibiting yourself. You're reducing your productivity. So, in conclusion, there are my 5 points of self-care to incorporate in this digital world. Relax, process, think and thank, move and snooze, nutrition. Hopefully you're reminding yourself these basic practices help you through the digital revolution we are all in. Technology is not the enemy. It's the relationship we forge with it that causes problems. Be mindful of your behavior around your devices. They do not substitute for real human relationships. I will soon have an app to help you with this. It's called Happy Not Perfect. It's being launched in July, so do look out for it. But in the meantime, look after yourselves. And just because everything may be going at the speed of light doesn't mean you have to. We are all ambitious, but the destination isn't the only thing that matters. Enjoy our journey. The beauty is in building. Thanks.